Hello. It is also possible to run DOSBox on an M1 MacMini. And I'll show you DOSBox booting Windows XP. Now DOSBox does emulate a mere Voodoo graphics card, just a Voodoo 1, not the Voodoo 3 that you can find in 86box or PCM, which is a shame. So basically Direct 3D and 3DFX is rather limited on the machine. So let's see. How this runs. So it's has 256 megabytes, and the CPU core is a dynamic core, and type is a Pentium 3. Edit cycles, I'd say max. And let's return and let's see how it actually works with 3D Max. And the Voodoo 1 drivers, they do support DirectX 6, DirectX 7, but not much above there. So, and it is rather limited. So if you do the demo, you probably get a lot of weird things that go on. Missing textures, missing, how do you say that? Missing textures and missing polygons. The amount of video memory is rather available is rather limited. So basically, yeah, here you can actually see part of the textures. Let's see how it works. You can see the version of the DOSBox emulator. So we do have geometry, but we have some sort of weird triangle errors, and perhaps it's just this scene. So let's see what happens. But you can actually see that parts of the background, parts of the starry background are actually mapped onto polygons that shouldn't be filled. But this is rather interesting. So you do actually see some reflections. This is with the OpenGL setting. And on the Mac Mini, the OpenGL is not the most, how do you say that, the most compatible setting. You could perhaps choose software mode. And let's see how that changes things. But yeah, it does do a great DOS emulation with just 2D graphics, and also accelerated 2D graphics. Windows games, they do work, but no. Yeah, as you can see that, yeah, there's this thing going on. And you would think it might be a driver issue, but it actually is not. At least not that I noticed. Let me see, if we do the configuration tool and go into Voodoo and we say software, very curious what will happen, and perhaps we do need to reboot, not sure, but let's see what happens if we choose software. Perhaps it's better, but then there's no hardware acceleration and the thing is just done on the CPU, which is rather powerful on the Mac Mini, so M1 MacMini. So we could run it and see if it is as broken as the OpenGL one. It could be that it's just perfect. Oh, this is the benchmark. We don't want to do the benchmark. We want to do the demo. You know what? Let's just quit that and see if the Voodoo software, if that actually works. Not sure if it'll work if you do it on the fly, but it might. So a 3dfx is on the fly, and let's see what happens if we run 3D Mark now. Of course, with software, you have everything in control, you know, but it should be a lot slower, I guess. But maybe the M1 MacMini is fast enough. Open a new benchmark. Oh, I have to open a new benchmark and say demo mode. And it could be that it just works nice, you know, but then it's just software rendering. And it's not very difficult geometry, so perhaps choosing software is actually the way to go. No, it does this weird thing. Perhaps it's a driver thing. This is one of the more specific fast loading or fast drivers, so could be that we just need to change the driver version. Now I did load drivers on the F side of things. So we have the Eisman Voodoo 1 drivers, and perhaps I should use an older version of the driver. So we could exit this. Oh, let's exit this. Oh, that's weird. Let me see. Shut down and open Phil's computer lab. No, come on. Phil's computer lab and drivers or software, hardware, graphics cards, 3dfx, drivers for Voodoo. Kit July 410, and this is 410. Orchid drivers 1997, Monster Driver 1998, 1.10 release of the Monster 3D drivers, DirectX 5 and Glide have been added. Monster 3D driver 410, Monster 3D 5 support edit. Orchid Righteous. Yeah, and this is the third party that I used, so and this is from March 2001. Yeah, and they are very buggy, so perhaps we should go for the last reference driver. And that is this one. Yeah, 3dfx Voodoo. Actually, for a time, I was actually downloading the let me see, downloads. Voodoo, so yeah. And I have to put that into the drive. The DOSBox drive over here. So, and then this one. So it could be very similar, but you know, it could also just work. So let's open up DOSBox. let's empty that. Okay. Okay. F until we have the Voodoo drivers extract. And put them in temp. And these are the modified drivers. So Windows 95, 98 was a bit different than the modern versions of Windows. It was a bit hit or miss when you try to change drivers, but I believe this is the way to change them. So let's go to the drivers, update drivers, and then select in a specific location. Then I go to have disk and go to the D drive, this one, and then it shows a Voodoo. Then it allows you to select a accelerator. Yeah, I want to do that. Just update the driver and older. Yes, just do the complete thing. Finish, and it may want to restart. I said no because I want to shut down. Nope. I want to shut down DOSBox because restarting, for some reason, this version seems to hang then. Okay, so it's all shut down. Let's restart it. And select the configuration tool, and I go to Voodoo OpenGL. Yeah, so that's just what it was. So, and then it's nice if the CPU edit cycles is max. It could be that's an issue, that it's just too fast, and sure, but the OS Windows 98 was patched for speed. Yeah, and I want to throw out the garbage. So in the driver, the hardware menu, let's see if it's correctly, yeah, it's correctly identified. So let's, as you can see, it's a very responsive system. Let's see what happens if we run 3D Max. And then do the new benchmark. Oh, do the new benchmark. And go demo mode. Use resolution. Let's see, because this is a certified driver which may have less artifacting than the enhanced 2001 driver. Of course, with CPU Max, you get the best performance, I guess. So there's still issues. Yeah, so this isn't really the way to go. And this works better if you use MS-DOS or Windows or Linux for your DOSBox-X emulation. Then you get a nicer 3D emulation. But this is just weird. And I'm not sure if you select auto, because it could be that if you select auto, let's configuration tool, and go Voodoo, and you select auto, and perhaps save, and then Oops. Oops. Exit this. So it could be that it's actually shut down. It is rather fast, isn't it? Here. And of course, parallels is unparalleled. We could go full screen. Let's see how that works. Yeah. Because this might actually be a M1 MacMini macOS thing, you know, with OpenGL being replaced with Metal. And of course, you've got different ways of outputting the video within the emulator, because output is like Surface, OpenGL, GameLink, you know, and it could be that if we select Surface, new 3D benchmark, and we say demo mode, it could be that it is actually properly rendered because, you know, a different type of rendering is used. Because OpenGL, you know, it's, but I doubt it actually. No, this is just quite horrible. But what we could do is that we can go full screen, like so, and just exit out of this and just run some of the software that's installed on here. For example, what's interesting is that actually it's a lot easier to emulate MIDI out because you just opt MIDI out, and within the emulator you can actually configure the fluid synth, and you just define a sound font and you use a sound font for it. But for example, what does work properly is the Space Cadet. Oh, and it's actually interesting because if you select let's see if shoot down. If you select this, it's really not full screen, so let's boot it again. So you might get very tired of me booting and rebooting the machine, but yeah. Like so. And I think it uses OpenGL again, but so what if we try to run the Space Cadet pinball, which is the pinball that's also found in Windows XP, but a different 16-bit version actually. And this because the MIDI part is actually done from within Mac, and Fluid Synth is, you know, running outside of the emulator within the OS, and you have a lot of cores on the M1, so this actually basically runs as Fluid, no pun intended. That's a real machine. And this is using the R3 Fluid GM sound file. So this really gives you a very nice MIDI experience. So the machine, the emulator doesn't have to work any extra. It just outputs general MIDI. And actually, when you run DOSBox, on Windows, on a Windows machine, you just define the GM to the 330 port, and actually you just get the synth that is used within Windows. What else? Of course, Heretic. This has already been set to general MIDI. And the thing is that actually most sound fonts using general MIDI really sound alike. They're most often are sounding very similar to the Roland synth. You do have sound fonts that map specific Gravis Ultrasound and MT32 and other things. Let me see, what else? Of course, we got Hexen. So yeah, for MS-DOS gaming from within Windows, this actually works rather nice. As you can see, it's actually running very nicely. Oh yeah, I've set this to emulate a Pentium 3, so it does a full speed Pentium 3. But yeah, it's just weird how well this works. Mouse tracking is also quite decent. Yeah, so for DOS retro gaming, you know, you don't have to use Boxer necessarily on the MacMini. It is possible. Running 3DFX or Direct 3D games, you know, is just not the way to go, it seems. So Voodoo 3D controls, screen resolution. You can't even select the screen resolution, or can we? No. So we select OK. And we might get graphics, or we might not get graphics, but yeah, it's sort of not working. You know, it's just not working properly. So and that's on Mac, because I do get things working. This exact same image I do get working properly. So this is using the FM synth. Okay, and let's go full screen. And let's go to the multimedia drive, and I think it's on here, Games, Doom, and just run the setup and do select music card, general MIDI, sound card, controller type, keyboard and mouse. The cool thing is that you can really define it as a modern. You really can map quite a modern control scheme on it. WASD, and then the mouse for the yeah, basically that's all right. So if we run Doom now, you get to WASD and just, you know, do your first-person shooter mouse keyboard thing. And these old games, you know, with the strafing and stuff, they really translate well. I mean, It's a bit similar to playing a Lego, a Lego-like first-person shooter with chunky pixels. I like it a lot, actually. Quite partial to the 320 by 200 look. And to remember that I actually was a cursor key, Control and Alt type of person, not really into the strafing, but that has changed dramatically after, you know, Unreal Tournament, Quake 3 came out. But of course Doom is weird because, you know, you just have to align up vertically the target that you want to shoot and then you just shoot it. But as you can see, it runs quite well. So basically the video card that this runs is an S3 Verge, and Doom 2, Earthworm Jim. So yeah, these are all DOS games. We could check Quake. Is that a GL Quake? Quake. Unable to open socket. So Quake 95. It doesn't. Yeah, so it's probably. So if we open Quake, it just does the software rendering. And it's not as fast, not as speedy as the one on the Intel side of things. Always run off. Oh, and the resolution is this walk forward. Oh, it really is not defined yet. W S A and D. Yeah, go to mouse look was done in the video modes. Just go to a default video mode. This should work better. Yeah, it's not as smooth as you would want it to be, but it does work. And you can just jump across. And I have to change the responsiveness of the mouse, I guess. You can easily do that. Perhaps this? Yeah. That's a bit of a thing that, you know, with the different resolutions and the DPI setting of the mouse, you really get, you really have to tweak it a bit. So it doesn't have the best frame rate, you know. WW. What? Wow. Can you attack left and right? So, you know, not ideal, but it works. Let me see. Is there an emulator or something that I... Not really, I think. Centipede, Darkman, Dreamweb. Yeah, there's Rally Challenge. I don't think it'll run. It might, not sure. Race. Quick race. I think this is just using software. So yeah, these early, you know, these early non-accelerated Windows games, yeah, this is just... There you go. So yeah, this is what we had pre-3D graphics. Yeah, they always had these hierarchical menus. You just could not exit, but you had to go back. Previous menu. I'm not sure what's up with these racing games, but they all do it. They all block Alt F4 to get out of the game, and they want you to go back to the main screen step by step. So yeah, I mean, that's a way to run things, but DOSBox on the M1 Mac is a different beast than on Intel and other things. So let's see what happens if I run a Pentium 2 333 Voodoo 3, and this is a current version, the 20th of March, and I just have a portable version, so an executable, and then just a drive, just, you know, have a specific drive. I mean, yeah, you use the same executable a couple of times, but you keep it all very nicely together. The M1 MacMini actually is emulating a Pentium 2 at, I believe this actually was a lot higher than 233. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it just doesn't interface properly with the clicks. Control End to release mouse. No, it doesn't register the clicks, the mouse clicks. So I just shut it down. That's the thing with this emulator. It just does that sometimes. You just reboot. But we could go full screen. You could select the renderer, Vulkan, full screen. It actually does a very decent job. It does a decent job of rendering the graphics properly. There is a vertical line often. And let's see, now it probably will select. Yeah. So basically this actually is the same image that I actually boot DOSBox-X into, albeit with the Voodoo 3 graphics card. And on Intel machines, the performance of 86-box PCM is actually slower than DOSBox, but it seems to be the other way around on this system. And you don't see the speed of the machine here. Multimedia. Yeah, also here MIDI out, and then it uses the also the FluidSynth, I believe. So they work very similarly actually. But here, of course, if you select 3D Mark, you just get a decent performance. And I've set it to 4 threads. So actually, the M1 Mac does a better job running 3D Mark or a DOSBox or 86-box, 86-box than the Intel machine. So new 3D benchmark, demo mode. So there's no aberrations, there's no weird things, weird situation. And you'll see that it just chugs along very, very happily. And performance is quite consistent, and because it's emulating a pretty fast machine, it also does more of the flame effects. It's more defined, and I did switch off the screen filter, so you can actually see a bit of a dithering effect. That is something that a lot of 3D hardware graphics did back in the day. The PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. they rendered graphics at a lower bit rate, so you had less memory to pump around, and they used this dithering effect to simulate more colors on screen than the actual colors. This is kind of a moire checkerboard type of thing to simulate more colors. Actually, you won't notice it that much on a CRT screen, but it's very obvious on a LCD screen. Funny thing is that in modern Commodore 64 demos, this same effect is actually adopted by demo makers. So Commodore 64 only has 16 colors, and by using this dithered effect, the emulator or the Commodore 64 is actually capable of simulating using more and more colors. It's actually quite interesting. Now, if you use 86box properly, or PCMbox properly, and you don't dip it too much, and it does dip below emulating this chip, but you can actually see that the performance is quite consistent, and the frame rate is actually quite consistent. This frame rate I only reach if I run this on my Ryzen 5900X. It goes to 30, goes to 25, and this is just very smooth. So the M1 with 86box is actually the choice to use. But if you use it on a Ryzen machine or another Intel machine, basically 86box is outperformed by DOSBox, which actually runs a lot smoother. It's quite weird how that differs, but I guess 86box is just interfacing better with Mac OS than it does on Windows. It does seem to run a bit better on Linux as well, so it might be a Windows port thing. And we could actually run the 2D mode, the Windows 2000, the the 3D Mark 2000, because it actually is quite smooth. It performs quite consistently, and this actually is, you can actually hear the sound stutter a bit. So the emulation loop is actually a bit overtaxing what the M1 chip is capable of. But it's only, it's only now and then, and I'm not sure. Yeah, and then you get the end credits. Let's see, if I go to system info, I'm not sure if it will recognize the processor correctly. So a 266 Pentium 2. So it's faster than the 233 that I set. And that does just a solid 100% performance with 86box, but I just want to creep it up. 2001. Oh, 2000. Oh, that's a shame. 2000 isn't on there. Because I like to compare the castle scene from 2000. It's actually running quite smoothly. This does the dragon and demo. Yeah. So a Voodoo 3 does DirectX 8. It doesn't do DirectX 9, which is a shame, because if it would, then it would be perhaps would be capable of running Halo, but this doesn't run Halo, even if you install Windows XP. And it doesn't do all the direct 3D effects that 3D Mark 2001 actually uses, so it skips quite a few things. This is actually a moving thing, pulsating, moving thing, and this is just a still screen. And then we have a statue with rain falling on top of it, which is not being shown here. Oh, it does, but it's just, you know, a static image. And then we get, because in capable graphics cards, 3D capable graphics cards, you can actually see that statue with rain falling on it, and it turns around. And here it does actually something different with the statue. And this is also something different. And here you can actually see the dithering effects. But certain things are actually done quite nicely. But actually, I'm actually quite curious to see, yeah, to see whether or not 2000 can be installed. So let's go to Media, Image, and then go to Samsung, Applications, 86box, ISO, and then 3D Mark versions, like so. And then just go full screen again. Will that work? Yep. Like so. Okay, let's go access that CD-ROM. And then we go to CD Mark 2000. And we have to get a serial for that. 3D Mark 2000. So that's the serial. And the username is FutureMark, which I like, because I'm Mark from the future myself, or from the past actually. So copy this. So you do actually get an unlimited machine, but I did install it prior, so it may actually still have the registration info intact, but it could actually, yeah, FutureMark, and then the registration code, and then it says you registered the product. Yay! Like so. Interesting. And let's see. Mad Onion. Yep, it's there. A bit anal. So let's see what happens with that castle scene, because in Parallels, this was actually run very consistently, very smoothly, and I'm actually very interested to see if 86box on the M1 is actually capable of producing a sweet, nice, smooth effect. And I think it actually might, because this actually feels very efficient and it doesn't stutter as much. And this, running this in PCM on Intel based CPUs, there's more stuttering. Oh yeah, this is actually running very smoothly. So I think that 86box, you know, it uses one thread for the entire computer emulation, but you can use 4 threads for the Voodoo 3 emulation. And I mean, it's not perfect, but it's very smooth. Actually, when I just saw the first couple of seconds, it actually felt like it was running on Parallels. Yeah, and there's no VSync, so you may actually get a bit of tearing. I'm very curious if the next scene will actually load, because that actually it needs to dump quite a fair bit of geometry data and texture data, and often there's this pause or it just doesn't move towards the next scene fluently, or it skips a whole lot of frames and just, you know, jumps to certain specific spots. But if there's less overhead, it might actually keep up and just do what a normal system does, because it does feel different. If you compare this with a real Pentium 2 or 3, this does feel more choppy, but much less than, yeah, this also is, I mean, it's not as fast as Parallels or a real machine, but it's definitely faster. It could be like 30% faster or something like that. Yeah, I don't have a frame counter, but yeah, this does run faster than what I've seen 86box do on any of my 86 Intel Ryzen based chips, and on ARM M1 Apple Silicon this actually runs amazingly well. Yeah, and the next scene where she gets transported into the data stream, then there's actually a lot of skips when you run it on VMware or VirtualBox. There's a lot of skips because the graphics card has a oh, this is very smoothly. Yeah, there's nothing skipped. Oh, and this is also running smoothly. So it may actually also be due to the processor speed that it is capable of emulating. A 266 Pentium 3 or 2 is not bad. So there's probably less of a CPU bottleneck because the CPU has gained a lot of performance. Oh, this is really smoothly moving. Yeah, this is really impressive if you compare it to what it runs like on Intel hardware. So 86box really is very capable on M1 hardware. I'm actually very curious what it does with the BOS install that I have here on here somewhere. And I believe now it's also moving towards yeah. So yeah, this is actually quite amazing. And let's see what happens if I run Quake. Yeah, it can't use the control socket, so I need to just move to multimedia and then Quake. So this actually, yeah, this is actually smoother than DOSBox, and often it's the other way around. So I guess the CPU part of things, and of course also the graphics part of things, you know, it being capable of doing a Voodoo, which has quite decent Visa compatibility. So MS-DOS gaming with a Voodoo 3 isn't really that bad, you know. It's actually quite compatible. So yeah, as you can see, yeah, I mean, it's probably nicer if you use a somewhat lower frame rate. Let's see this. Yeah, this is very smooth. So yeah, it's a bit tinkering around to see what's the best performance. And I guess this doesn't skip a beat, you know, this is just like, I think 60 frames per second or something like that. This is just, ooh, this is just very smooth. Oops. Yeah, and that was actually, that took a bit of getting used to, you know, that you really had to aim. And of course, what you can do is go to console. And I believe crosshair 1. Yeah. So you know the command, the console isn't really consistent because mouse look is plus min and mouse look plus, and crosshair is like a binary thing because I think it is like 1 and 0. Yeah, but this is just software rendering. This is just not OpenGL or anything. This is just software rendering. The CPU doing the work. But yeah, quite capable. So yeah. So I guess, you know, on the M1 you really have coverage of quite a decent area of gaming, because you can go as low as PCXT, you know, IBM Pentium 486, 286, and have that run, you know, quite consistently, and go Windows gaming with parallels that I showed in another video. You really can go up to quite modern games. Oh yeah, I forgot one, but yeah. And of course, 3D games that didn't run on DOSBox, they do run here. So if I go Sega Rally, for example, Sega Rally 2, device settings, display, acceptor, Joko. So this basically is Dreamcast quality, arcade. This looks exactly like the Dreamcast version. I'm quite partial to the Impreza. Let's see, and I think it might be A and Z and cursors. Yeah. So as you can see, this actually has a very consistent frame rate. I've not played this like this in such a smooth frame rate on 86 box. There's this a bit of a weird sound thing, I believe. Yeah, but this is very playable. This is very responsive. You know, it's not like I'm struggling, or if controls would be laggy, I'd be zigzagging all over the course. You know, oversteering, because it just responds too slowly. But this is just very doable. Feels very direct, the controls. So, you know, 12 milliseconds or below. Yeah, and just going onto the tarmac. 14th place, that's just basically default. Oh, am I actually 13th? No, still 14th. Yeah, so this allows you to Alt F4. I believe if you run Pinball, where is it? Space Cadet. It might be a bit choppier, but we'll see. No, this also runs great. It also does the fluid synth. F2. Yeah, the sound volumes are a bit different, because the MIDI is kind of overpowering the. Yeah, it does stutter a bit more than DOSBox. Yeah, but you know, 86 bucks does give you quite a nicely well-rounded performance. So let's shut that down. Now I'm very, very curious how BIOS 501 works. Basically, this is exactly what my system was when I was running BOS. And I must say I was quite partial to BOS. Full screen. And this is running at 233. So it's a lot smoother, but this is just how it would respond. I'm not sure if it actually if I defined the voodoo, because I do think it did support the voodoo, but the voodoo 3. About BOS, Pentium 2 running at 233. Oh, it doesn't say anything about the video card. But there's no hardware accelerated, not really a hardware accelerated thing. I believe new. Yeah, you could have you could add more teapots. Yeah, but this was just a very responsive operating system. Chart, and then animation off, slow rotation, display, bitmap, 2 threads, red, orange, pink, and white, comet, or novas. Oh, there we have novas and comets. So yeah, and it does have a few emulators, but the thing is that there's this Z library thing and a graphics library that I didn't compile, that I don't have. So not everything runs as well as you want it to be. Let me see. Quadro. Oh, that's 4 in a row. Hexen. I've been running a lot of Hexen. I believe this does work. Not sure if we can actually configure anything. Let me see. Oh, there's a key definition with ASCII codes. Yeah, it's hard to change. And yeah, let's see what happens if it runs. It probably runs within a small window, if at all. I remember it's running. Oh yeah, it does. And it used MIDI sounds. And of course, it does have the cursor keys. Oh yeah, and then what happens is that when you use the control key and the cursor keys, it actually moves towards a different screen on macOS. So that's a shame that DOSBox doesn't. DOSBox, that 86 bucks, doesn't provide a means of catching that or turning that off. Quake probably doesn't want to work because of a library, libsocket SO, which is a network socket, which I don't use. 7.1, it might work. It does have the network, but it has a very high screen resolution. It's set to GL. And probably 1020, was it 1024 768? It could be that if I just let it load and jump into the menu and just set a lower screen resolution, that it might actually work properly. But it seems rather slow. So if I press X, I could bump into the menu if it does have enough time to register my key press. Because if I press it again, I might actually exit the menu. I do press it again, but it's very slow loading in the different assets. Ogre. MDL. Aren't those like 3D models that you actually can load into Bryce or something like that? The extension sounds very familiar, but yeah, we could be here until tomorrow. So I'm not gonna sit around and wait for this to load. Of course, you should not do this. You know, just shutting it off like that. Oh, sound is actually introduced. Yeah. So it may actually go somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, I just exited it. Yeah, a shame. Is there a configuration file that I could, that I could set the resolution to? ID1 config open with. Oh, it would be nice if I can set the resolution. Toggle menu. Okay, so there's no, I don't think there's a resolution set. No, that's perhaps in the auto-exec config. It's almost like a, no. Oh, that's a shame. Or will it just default to the screen resolution? So if that's the case, I might just lower the screen resolution a whole bit and see what that does. Monitor tests. No, it's just a test screen. But where is it? Where is it? Pulse no. Desktop no. Terminal magnifier. I thought that was the screen setting thing. It's been a while. Let's see. Okay. Desktop. No, mount add-ons. I thought it was possible to just set the screen resolution, but I may actually have to go into settings or something like that. Let's see. Like so. Applications, preferences, yeah. Preferences and then screen. So if I set the screen to 64480 and I do apply, keep, yeah, that's much more reasonable. And if I then opt to run Quake, it may actually default to 640. Yeah, so it may actually be more doable. On the Windows side of things, or MS-DOS side of things, it actually was able to keep up. And here we actually have the sound coming in. Yeah, and we don't get the rolling, how do you say that, the loading in of the assets, but it is rather slow. But it is using GL rendering, because if you look at the gun, it's much more defined than what we saw on the MS-DOS side of things. But of course it's not open, and I'm curious if there actually was a Voodoo 3 driver. I think there is, but I may actually have set the Verge. I'm hoping that I'm able to go into the setting and then press down twice and select options. Oh, and then if I do up, and then up again, I don't think there's any screen. No, there's not any screen. So if I do Alt X, so like that. Oh, that's a shame. But let's go back to the preferences and reset the screen to 124 by. So it's just, yeah, and then like that. Keep. So yeah, it's just, you know, not a big deal. So let's shut that down and see what video card is actually defined in the system, from within the system. Control and check out the screen that's been used, because if I remember well, but that could be BOS. Yeah, that could be. Let me see, display a Verge. So if I select a Voodoo, and I may have to select a Voodoo PCI. No, I'll just select a Voodoo 3500. No, not 3500. I do think that I remember it stating it was a Voodoo 3D like that, and just use 4 threads. And let's see what happens if I don't opt for the Verge, but for the Voodoo. Because that actually does, oh, and it does color, so. Because I remember having a Verge back in the day. Like so, and let's go, oh. Oh, it crashed. I'm not sure what happens, but it could be that it doesn't like the Voodoo, so let's use it again. Good thing is that I set what the Verge was, the S3 Verge. And I do want to put it full screen before it initializes, yeah. And let's see if it just kicks out when it loads the operating system. The moment the sound plays, it sort of exited. Okay, moving the mouse doesn't change a lot, so yeah, okay, so it probably has to do with so if I do the GLT part, I'm not sure, but the frame rate may actually be higher. No, not sure, I think it's the same. But what will happen if I run Quake? Applications, demos, applications, games. Oh, I have to navigate through to apps, games, Quake, and run this one. Because it could be that it's faster, but it might not be. So it's like the fallback. I don't think it's very fast. I'm quite curious actually. There's this BOS reinvention, this open source thing. I made a video on that before. What's it called? Haiku. Haiku. I may actually opt to download and install Haiku. Yeah, this is no fun. Ah, there it is. Exiting. There are working emulators actually for it, and I believe these were the ones that were working. A BeepM, or I'm missing ROM files. I do have them around somewhere. It's not a bad one. Apple II, I think Apple was working. Yep. So that's actually quite interesting to have an Apple II within BOS. Atari 2600 does work. Stella. And, you know, loading in a game, Amidar. Yeah, that just works. Let me see. Commodore 64 does work. Frodo. And then just displays, Windows, SID filters, SID emulation type, digital. And we could select a demo and do booze. Or is it booze? I don't know. I need to select a drive, a disk drive. Or is it a drive image? So demo, and then Edge of Disgrace. You can load the second disk, enable processor emulation. Yeah, I'm curious if it'll be full speed. Oh yeah, it actually is. It's way too fast. Preferences. So limit speed to 100%. Like so, yeah. So what happens if I load in? Okay, it's weird. The keys are, oops. Ah! Let's reset. The keys are mapped weird. Load, probably is loaded. No, it is mapped onto the, so then that's what, yeah. So you just have to close your eyes, don't look at the keycaps of your keyboard, and just pretend it's a real Commodore 64 keyboard. So let's see what happens. I mean, for me, yeah, having a good Commodore emulation running, but this isn't right. This is not the this is the less compatible Frodo. Oh no, it's a Frodo PC. Frodo's this, I think this is the more cycle exact one. So SID emulation, digital, limit speed. I'm not sure if I would say draw every, if I do it like that and say D and go to processor emulation and say demo, and then go to Edge of Disgrace, this one, and say start. It's slower. Yeah, it's a lot slower, so that one probably will not be very good. So if I do every second, filters, SID filters. Oh, and if I don't do the SID filters but just do digital, what happens then? Yeah. So yeah, don't install BOS to have a perfect experience when it comes to Commodore 64 emulation. But it is compatible enough to be actually be able to run some games and stuff. But I don't think Miss Pac-Man actually works nice. No, so yeah, you know, Edge of Disgrace doesn't work. Fail. And Basilisks also just work. I think if I run this, then it actually just works. So graphic sound, window, 30 Hertz, network memory, like so. Which of course is weird because this is running Mac OS from within an emulator on a Mac. This actually is an image of my LC3, I believe. My actual system. And if things are what I think it does, it actually shows a specific drive icon that actually shows that it's an LC3. I had the entire LC range of Macs back in the day. I got them, yeah, LC3 with the Z. So, yeah. This brings back memories. Yeah. Tracking is a bit off. Work perfect, yeah. Applications. Oh. Temporary. There's nothing there. Hard disk sizes were actually a lot smaller than what we're used to right now. But Arashi, oh, I played Arashi a lot. That's like Tempest. Diamonds is nice. Klondike. Back Memory, Mastermind. Pac-Man. It's a really decent version of Pac-Man. Let's see if it works. So it uses the number pad. Space for game start. So it's set to black and white. Which is a shame. Yep, and just exit the game and just shut down. Oh, you have to keep it pressed. So yeah, it's quite weird. Emulators within emulators. Yeah, if it's done properly, actually, it shouldn't really matter that much. So, shut down. Kill application. And just exit the full screen. And release the mouse. And just terminate that. I do have Windows XP run. I do have Windows XP installed on 86 bucks. I might actually have to give that a go as well. And I do think I ran this before. So let's go to full screen. Yeah, and you really this is a 266. You really creep up to the edge of what actually this emulator is capable of, because a lot of hardware is actually emulated and actually accessed with Windows XP, so the emulator is actually taxed more. Not sure if the emulator actually is smart, you know, like if things aren't accessed, is it then that certain parts of the emulator are skipped? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Oh yeah, this. There's you know, you can actually see that probably interrupts and cycles are not going as smoothly as you would want. Oh yeah, 3D Mark 2000. you know, it's basically the same machine as the Windows 98 machine ran on. You know, single processor, Pentium 2, 266. And I'm quite curious how the benchmark actually runs. Run the demo. And as the system isn't lagging that much, you know, it is capable of keeping up better than what I said, the Intel PCs, Intel-based PCs and Ryzen-based PCs. It could be that there's a bit of overhead on the sound in the sound department, but otherwise it seems rather smooth. I'm very curious how the castles. Oh, this actually does run. So I guess with Windows XP, I think the CPU bit prevents the graphics card from being a bottleneck. Or, well, you say that the CPU is prevented from being too much of a bottleneck. But there's a lot more interrupts and stuff, and actual OS going in the background. So it's not as, it does skip a few frames, but yeah, you know, it's certainly not perfect, but it runs. And of course, if you compare it to real virtualization with the Intel variant of Rosetta running from within Parallels, you know, the Intel implementation. So if we just boot Parallels and just run ARM, yeah, I don't think it's capable of booting the. It can't find the disk image. So here we have 3 Mark 2001. So is there another 3D Mark? More? Oh wait, there was back 3D Mark 2000. And I've shown this in other videos as well. But it's funny. It can't detect whether what type of Intel machine is actually running on. So run the demo. And we do have to set the screen to something more palatable, so like 640 by 480, like that. Hook. And then just do demo mode. And now you'll see utter smoothness. But it won't do DOS really nicely unless you use DOSBox. Now this is just smooth as heck. And you would, yeah, this would probably be very close to running it on a Pentium, high-end Pentium 3 with the Voodoo graphics. It stutters more though. Yeah, but this is just a heck of a lot smoother. This is... So yeah, basically this does provide a Windows environment that is native to ARM, but not everything is native to ARM, but because you can use Intel-based libraries, C++ libraries. and yeah, the kernel just has this emulation layer going on where program calls are intercepted, and Rosetta does it by writing precompiled instructions to disk. I believe it's using the disk a lot, and I think Intel does it in a different way, more on the fly and less access to the drive, so probably is better for the SSD. But this is far superior when it comes to execution. But yeah, this is virtualization, and the only thing that is actually emulated or recompiled here actually is the processor, the Intel processor. But yeah, not in a way that PCM works, or 86box or DOSBox. Well, perhaps in a way, if you check out the recompiler thing, but yeah, it's of course much more professional, I think. Yeah, and this is just how it runs on a real Pentium 3. And there it was exited. I'm not sure what this is. It's probably one of these extra keys that... yeah! So... shut down. And of course there's a ton of emulators just working on the Mac Mini. So after its release, it's still a pretty solid, decent emulation system. I've updated some of the emulators. Oh yeah, this is actually quite interesting. These are iOS games, cave shooters, that actually don't run on the iPad anymore, and because they're not 64-bit. And for some weird reason, macOS still supports 32-bit apps, iOS apps. So yeah, just have cave shmups at your disposal. This is also a Birdsong app. This is also an iOS app. It allows you to... oh. And so because the green, let me see, the green woodpecker. I always think this sounds more like a bird of prey than a woodpecker. Emulators. So what runs? Well, we can check out Ethers-X. This is the latest but also deadest version. Yeah, so Jack and Daxter. Why not? Oh, and it turns off. It may be that I have to recharge my PS4 controller. It usually has to be recharged, but it may turn off after I haven't used it for a long time. This game used to have graphical aberrations where the eyes of the characters would not render properly. It's not running full speed here, I think. No. And it's one of the more graphically intense games, but what helps, if you can stand it, is use the PAL games. Yeah, sure.
I have spent my life searching for the answers that my father and my father's fathers failed to find. Who were the precursors? Why did
the precursors?
Monoliths that lither our planet. How did they
monoliths that lither our planet. I say. That is rather interesting, isn't it?
I have asked the plants, but they do not.
I have asked the plants, but they didn't give any answers. Why not?
Even
Well, because it's Jack and Daxter.
every bone in my body tells me that the answer.
Every bone in my body tells me that the answers.
Oblivious to his destiny.
Yeah.
Interested in the search.
Okay, so let's press escape so you can actually see that it works. I showed some other games in Le Mans 24 Hours, Legacy of Kain. What else works? Oh yeah, Sega Rally 2006, Super Buster Move, Tekken, Super R-Type Final. Yeah, there's just there's just a whole 7 Wonders of the Ancient World. Yeah, so this is just Ethers X2, which actually is a bit better, faster than PCX2 because that was basically the same emulator. But what else? Boxer. Boxer is actually DOSBox. 4.1. This is version 2.0. So this is the Intel Boxer. We also have Boxer 4.1 Beta, which actually is ARM native, I think, or Universal. Yeah, Universal. So basically a better version of Boxer, but yeah, you actually have 2 running at the same time, which probably isn't the best. If I go to DOS games, these are actually games that have Boxer encased. What is it? Yeah, so it's like that's just the way how Apple applications work. You can actually put Top World. You can actually put games within an app, and that the app is just Boxer. So Boxer actually allows you to make standalone applications, Mac applications, that just run as a DOS. One player. So DOSBox-X is more versatile, I think. But this actually works rather nicely. So I believe there is this way of exiting. Exit to DOS. And then you get your mouse back. So there's Heretic, for example. And then I just run the setup and I say general MIDI, keyboard and mouse, sound mouse blaster. And configure controller. Oh, so I did set that. So launch Heretic. And this also uses general MIDI. And you don't have to configure Fluid and synth and stuff. So yeah, so getting the MIDI experiences with DOSBox on Mac OS with Boxer is pretty much default. And on Windows also. So the whole Linux thing with Fluid Synth and the video I did is actually a bit more complicated, but you get more control. You can actually select sound fonts and stuff, which isn't. It might be the case on this. But I must say I didn't delve into Boxer that much, the innards, because I figured it's just more monkey proof. But yeah, it just runs very nicely. And then just exit it. Very curious after what Boxer version this is. Yeah, so the alpha version still. So it's not like the. I think it's the Intel version actually that it still is. So yeah, I've got and I did create a ton of standalone things. So you just drag it to a drive and someone else can play. Oh yeah, I've created this emulator even. So if I do PCE, I think it was PCE. Oh, a ROM image. Ooh. I must stop the recording here because my serial number has been leaked now. PC Man, Top World, Need for Speed, Zool, Jackrabbit, Gauntlet, Galaxian, Elder Scrolls, Duke Nukem 3D, DOS Bench. Interesting. So, a 3D bench. Ah, that's nice. Not too shabby. 3D Mark. Ooh, that's rather fast. The other one. Ooh, that's smooth. So there's a ton of ways to just get going, and oh, this is actually this runs faster than DOSBox-X did. So I guess it's more optimized, but there's less overhead. You know, this is a bit of a simpler version because DOSBox-X actually includes more hardware emulation bits. But this actually is very smooth. Yeah. So, and then the high resolution one, there's a bit of flickering, but at 640 by 480 this actually runs very smooth. Yep. Just wait till it reaches 100. Reaches 162. Yes, it's very, very fluid. So what else do we have? Doom, which is probably quite fast. Whoops. Yeah, that's quite fast. And then Doom maximum details. That also is quite fast. Whoa. Yeah, and let's see, Quake. I'm very curious after Quake. And of course, Escape. Wow, that is fast. Whoa, 150 or something. That may be, well, even more perhaps. Not sure. It's really fast. Oh, 60. 62, yeah, so I was overestimating it. It felt really fast. This will really give you motion sickness when playing this. This is just too fast. Let me see. Quake Demo D. Higher resolution. Yep. Still mighty fast. Maybe actually be the same. 60, 40. I think still 60. Not much difference. Oh, 40. Yeah, okay. Well, it's really weird checking frame rates. But if you do it, if you check what you think it is, and you check it a lot, and yeah, this is lower. This might actually be 30 or 25 or something like that. Then you get better at it, actually. I'm not sure. It's just this weird thing, this pattern recognition thing that your brain does. I'd say 30, 32, 36. Well, it's not exact, you know. Okay, Escape. And then we got the more... Speedsis, top bench, Speedsis. I think that's the one that I want to see. It may hang. Yeah, it may hang. That's a shame. So a 486 at 2900 megahertz, which really is fast. Close. Descent. I love the music in this one. Well, if it does play some music. Create new. Blech. Mark. Input device, keyboard only. Mouse. Yeah, mouse. New game. Rookie. Very curious if it will work. I do think I need to set the sound, and there's these render things going on which aren't. I think the how do you say that? The A and Z. Oh yeah. So it's oversimplified a bit. So let's So let's go into options, detail levels, highest, music volume, effects volume, like so, and then new game. This should work better. Yeah, whole intro. Yeah, escape then. Yeah, this looks the part. Oh wow, I remember this. Oh gosh. Oh, it has yeah. For a long time, I used to prefer, real flight yoke stick-like things. Push forward to go down and towards you to lift the nose. But ever since first-person shooters became more of a mainstream thing, I've adopted the other way around. Yeah. So this actually needs a bit of settings to get to be done. I'm not sure if it also detects sound hardware. Graphics ultrasound. Oh wow, select the sound card. Yeah. Test music card. And test digital sound card. Oh wow, that's interesting. Exit files and turn to main menu. And then exit, sure. And then go to descent. I did have a graphics ultrasound Ace. A red PCB. And that made a ton of difference. It sounded a lot nicer than the Sound Blaster 16 FM synth, but I mean, you can grow quite partial to that sound. Yeah. Oh, zooming through these. Yeah, and then over here you'd have these this prisoner behind this door. Yeah, and then you would just fly towards them. Basically, it's Doom. It's just Doom with little spaceships. And then just exit this. Let me see what else. There's Dolphin, which does have a native ARM So Burnout probably is nice to check out. Game mode on. That's also very interesting. That's something that macOS ever since ever since 14 or something like that, there was this game mode, very, very similar to what you would find on MS-DOS. Just focus on the screen output, as little overhead as possible, and it doesn't recognize my my PlayStation 4 controller, but that may be because I haven't defined it yet. Yeah, I can run Amiga. This is not the launcher, this is just the regular thing, but if I use the launcher, then I actually have Pimiga. And that's also quite interesting, of course. Yep. Oh man, I just love emulation. It really doesn't matter what type of hardware you have. You can basically run everything on everything. And I think that's the future, actually, that things become a bit agnostic. I don't think I have prepared. No, I don't think I have a shapeshifter capable ROM. But yeah, that's Redream. Oh yeah, I've also got Virtual Amiga, which is an implementation of an Amiga 1200 or 500. I actually met this dude back in the day in 98 or something like that, and I think he still works at this address. He had a Commodore 64 emulator out, and also a Virtual Amiga now. It's a very nice German guy that I met when we were visiting from the Netherlands, our medical faculty. I'm not sure if he will remember. Cancel, no, delete. This is weird. Quit Amiga and then just delete that instance. We got Commodore 64, Vice. It just runs, but also the VIC. Open. Yeah. That's interesting, but where's the VIC? I want my VIC. Open. Vice, open. Ah, there it is. That is the VIC. Exit Vice. Exit Vice. There's something fishy going on with the way that the interface works. It's a bit buggered. Let's force quit the whole Vice thing. I'm not sure how many there are. Xvic. Be gone, sir. Like so. Yeah, I just updated to a newer version, so it may actually be. UTM is also it's QEMU. It does do a pretty decent, fast. QEMU is really good because it does do quite a fast, almost virtualization. You can virtualize things, but you can also emulate things. So I think it virtualizes what it can and emulates what it needs to. So Windows XP actually runs surprisingly well on this, but it doesn't have 3D hardware acceleration. But it could be that if I opt to install soft GPU, it might, but then I need to define a specific video driver for this. But it is actually quite interesting to see because soft GPU, it does function on QEMU, but you have to have a specific video driver installed. And let me see if that is the case, because then I could actually perhaps, let me see, system, hardware, device manager. It feels like virtualization. Display driver. Yes, this could actually be, because I think it does have enhanced capabilities. If I do direct diagnostics, this could actually prove to be quite interesting. So DirectX 9, next page, display, problem, direct play, display, direct draw. Okay, to proceed. Yeah, that just works, but yeah, I could try to destroy this instance by installing soft GPU. I'm actually rather tempted. Oh, and in the meantime, I'm just running a capture from OBS, so cancel, exit. So what if I change this and see if I can get soft GPU to soft GPU. Yeah. And then releases. And then just, it does run on the ISO, yeah, like that. Alrighty. And then go to downloads and just insert soft GPU. It might not work, but oh, soft GPU only works with Windows 98, right? But it might still be possible to install certain subsystems. And it might decide not to work. So if, oh, does it do something? No. So if I just decide to just browse the disk tools, yeah, that's software GL. Yeah, that's just, whoops. And so it does replace certain bits with, yeah, Windows 95. These drivers just will not work properly with extra VBox Mini OpenGL. No, it's just gonna remain hanging. So yeah, I forgot this is Windows 98 only, so just turn it off. That's probably, oh, yeah. So yeah, a very fast and responsive system, you know, for office things or, you know, professional, serious work, programming. This actually is a pretty solid experience, and I've also got Solaris running, and this is just Chemo with a very nice, I did boot it down, so let's see if I can give it another go. Will it? Oh, it does. Whoop. Yeah, there was a way of booting into it, which I forgot, but help. Boot. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that, but I thought it was pretty easy to get it up and going. I'm not sure. Boot disk 0. Okay. There's information on it. So, boot disk 0. So it does use a totally different, how do you say that, processor architecture, and still you get Solaris running. And Solaris actually was the first Linux I ever saw. So I think you need to type in root, because if you haven't made a user, and I just love the purple. It's actually very similar to the alpha or the indigos. Yeah, this is just very much like, and it's easy to suspend the system, but you can also log out. Let me see. What is this? Yeah, just this mouse cursor. Ooh. My mouse is outside, so let's suspend that. Of course, we have RPCS 3, which, as it stands now, is still an Intel. It's not a hybrid. So let's see if it will update. I'm not sure. It might not be possible to update. It might update. Oh, that is interesting. It's actually the first time that the Mac version actually updates. Oh wow. So this uses Rosetta to work. And the last time I showed PlayStation 3 on the Mac M1 Mini was perhaps 1.5 years ago or something like that. Yeah, it's still recording. Proceed with caution. So, yeah, what's interesting is that there's a lot of stuff that actually works quite well. So, January 26th, 2023. That's the last time I showed or I played. It could be September 2022 that I actually made a video. on it. This is one of the more spectacular emulators that's out there, I think. Especially considering when you see what actually, for example, the PlayStation 2 emulator is also quite impressive, because that's actually quite a difficult system. And Sony sort of went the same route with the PlayStation 3. And the thing is that I don't think PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3 have actually reached their full potential yet, because the processing power of the PlayStation 3 isn't that far below what you would expect on a does it run? No, it doesn't. Yeah, my controller is just dead again. So yeah, which is a shame. But yeah, it's just very, very compatible. And I have an iPhone, so and I have an iPad, so it's actually quite compatible. So let's quit the recording and see how it actually ended up.